introduce Scott Hardy from the Whitsunday Regional Council in Queensland. And Scott's going to talk to us this afternoon about collaborative, coordinated and effective feral pig management. And again, it's all about engaging people. So what the key learnings have been and are from the Whitsunday Region Management Program in Queensland. So thank you, Scott. Over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Heather. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity for us to present some information on our Whitsunday Region feral animal shooting program. Next. So this presentation's been developed by Bren Fuller, who's our technical officer, but also myself, and I'm the coordinator of natural resource management and climate at Whitsunday Regional Council. Next. So I'll go through the purpose of the presentation, provide a little bit of an overview on Whitsunday Council's feral pig management program, go through some of the main economic, social and environmental attributes of our feral animal control program, and then present a few slides on the social aspects of the program and why the social aspects of the project are so important. I'll outline why our product is a little bit different and what sort of outputs we provide to our stakeholders and the landholders, and follow it up at the end with some take-home messages about our thoughts on what makes a successful community-based feral animal or feral pig management program. Thanks, Narelle. Okay, so the purpose of this presentation is to outline our approach to feral animal control in the Whitsundays, with a focus on stakeholder involvement, and go through how they financially contribute to our feral animal control program. So I guess if we had to sum it up, it really comes down to a balance of economic, social and environmental factors, but here we'll focus on the social factors. Next. So our aerial shooting program commenced in 2012, and with a focus on 2021-22, our feral animal aerial control program covered approximately 982,000 hectares. And feral pigs removed and the costs. So over the last 10 years, we've removed over 12,000 pigs, and we've been able to collate over the 10 years a lot of information on how much our feral animal control programs cost, but also some of the outcomes. So the cost of the program over the 10 years has been $674,000, with an average cost per pig of $54. But once you include in-kind contributions from the council and some other stakeholders, the cost per feral pig shot from an aerial program from the helicopter is about $75 per pig. Next. So we've had a bit of a think about how we sort of set out our aerial shooting program, and there's a lot of time spent on the social aspects of it. So there's a lot of time spent talking to people, talking to landholders, talking to stakeholders, and of course, talking about the economics and the environmental outcomes as well. But we've found that the social aspects probably consume a lot more of our time and are quite important to our program. Next. So as a little bit of an overview on the dollar impacts of feral pigs on the local economy and environmental assets, in 2020, Council received a grant to fund an economic evaluation of or economic impact of feral pigs on agriculture. So what that study found through various landholder surveys was that the economic cost of feral pigs in the Whitsunday region is around $12 million per year. So that's impact on grazing, horticulture and sugarcane. And we've also crunched some numbers on the environmental impacts. So we've come up with environmental costs of around $28 million per year from our feral pig population. Next. So we estimate that our feral pig population is around 19,000, give or take. And our gut feeling is that the population's remaining fairly steady, if not slightly declining over the last, say, half a dozen years. So with that estimated population, which we determine through our aerial shooting program, but also communicating with the landholders and then doing some estimates through our landscape, the average economic cost per feral pig is $662 a year. So that's the economic impact per feral pig on agriculture. And because we know that the estimated feral pig population, the average cost of environmental impacts is about $1,400 per year. Next. So potential economic return from the program. So if we use the 2021 financial year, where we removed 1,990 feral pigs, we can work out that the saving to agriculture is about 1.3 million based on the pigs removed and the unit cost per pig. Reduced environmental damage is $2.9 million for that year. The combined benefits is $4.2 million a year. So because we know the cost of the program, we can crunch some numbers and say, well, for every dollar invested into the aerial shooting program, we have a combined return of $18.83. Okay, next. So some of the social outcomes. So one of the things we've done is engage with a range of stakeholders, so state government, regional NRM groups, Sunwater, other stakeholders, cane growers, for instance, and we will have between 8 and 19 organisations contributing to our aerial shooting program each year. So some organisations contribute $1,000, some a lot more. We also have a good take-up and relationship with our land managers. So most years we will have between 50 and 80 graziers, land managers involved, participating in our aerial shooting program. And we actually charge the landholders $300 each to participate in the aerial shooting. So they contribute towards the project, the state government and other stakeholders contribute, and council contributes. So in some years it's been 3 levels of government, industry and landholders contributing to our aerial shooting program. Over the last couple of years, we've expanded our aerial shooting program into neighbouring regional councils, which are the Burdekin, Isaac, Charters Towers and Mackay. So we work with staff in those councils to help contact the landholders and build the relationships and seek the permission for us to fly over their country and do the aerial shooting across the border. And that's been working really well. Council staff present information to landholder groups outside the Whitsunday Regional Council area as well. So Brent Fuller's been invited to present on the aerial shooting program in neighbouring shires and stakeholder groups outside of the Whitsunday region. So I guess the growing confidence from landholders, there is a value being involved in financially supporting the program. And based on verbal feedback and willingness to pay the participation fee. So landholders are feeling that the aerial shooting program is valuable. They're very happy to provide the $300 into the program, and they can see value in the program because other stakeholders are contributing into it as well. Next. So we thought we'd put in a little bit of financial information into this presentation. So based on the 2019-20 year, this sort of summarises some of the stakeholder contributions from the state, the regional NRM groups, Whitsunday landholders, industry, such as Sunwater, horticultural organisations, and then Whitsunday Council's cash and in-kind contribution. So we can have a look at along the top, for instance. In 1920, we had 34 flights, 62 landholders involved. We had financial contributions from the state, regional NRM groups, which are NQ dry tropics and reef catchments, and the Whitsunday landholders, around $12,000, which is based on that $300 contribution, and industry and Whitsunday Council. So the in-kind contribution from Whitsunday Council is around the $14,000 to $20,000 per year there. The rest is cash. Next. So we thought we'd add an extra statistic in there. So someone asked, how far do we fly in a year with our aerial shooting program? And what's the unit rate of dispatch through the program? So in 2021, our aerial shooting program flew 7,896 kilometres, dispatched 1,990 feral pigs. So it works out that one feral pig dispatched every 3.9 kilometres, and last year it was 3.2 kilometres. So I guess I'm not sure how that compares with other aerial shooting programs around the country, but I guess with gathering these sort of statistics, we can start sharing information and sharing, well, you know, is 3.2 kilometres good or bad? Is there some better ways we can do it? Next. So social aspects. So what do we do? So when we're engaging stakeholders, we share with them our program plan. What are we offering? Really, to some extent, discharging biosecurity obligations, hassle-free. So basically, they give us permission to fly over their country and pay a contribution. We'll provide them with a report and some outcomes. One point of contact, which is primarily through Bren Fuller. Defendable participation fee, $300, tax deductible in a lot of cases. It's pretty cheap to be part of the program. Landholders and stakeholders will get a report with statistics from the flight. So whatever the outcomes are of a flight, we'll have a map of the flight path demonstrating where the helicopter's been, where the pigs were dispatched, and some unit costs. The other attractive thing is a demonstrable and defendable safety process and documents, which for our paper trail, for instance, a job safety analysis form. So we take safety pretty seriously, and so does our helicopter contractor. So combined, there's quite a rigorous safety protocol in place where we make sure that everything's covered off before the chopper leaves the ground, and our stakeholders have provided a copy of the job safety analysis forms. Next. So some of the communication on grounds around the back of the ute. Here's Bren in the foreground with the sunglasses on, talking to a couple of landholders, and Kelly Foster's the chopper pilot on the right-hand side. With the aerial shooting, we use a Robinson 44, and I guess we've found that the relationship between the aerial shooter, which is in our case Bren Fuller, our technical officer, and the chopper pilot is very important. Next. So just stepping back a little bit and having a look at the rest of the Whitsunday Feral Animal Control Program. So we don't just use aerial control. We do have ground baiting, with ground baiting through syndicates of landholders. And this table shows a little bit of a estimate on the area serviced, which is in 2015-2016, 1.2 million hectares, which is about the same now. An estimated cost of council officer time, how many baits go out, so around, say, 5 tonnes per year, % of the shire serviced. But we find it very difficult to get an estimation on the effectiveness of the 1080 ground baiting. But here in this table, we've had a guesstimate of, say, 500 from those baits. And then from there, we can estimate the cost per head. We do have ground baiting supplementary, which is a very small amount of our time and resources. We use cage traps near urban areas and foothold traps for the dogs as well. Next. So engaging landholders. So what's important to landholders? Trust, especially around stock. One of the main questions we get asked is, are the helicopters going to spook the cattle? You know, we don't want them being chased away from waterholes, food, etc. So trust around helicopter and stock is important. Gun handling. How do you address risk? Trust that you will be on target. The other important things is the professionalism of the operator. So landholders are very interested in the reputation of our council staff, but also of the helicopter pilot as well. The cost of participation versus perceived outcomes. So if we're going to ask people for money, what are the outcomes? Discharging biosecurity obligation, feedback and competition. So one of the interesting things from landholders is often they're looking over the fence and asking, were more pigs shot on my land or my neighbour? The project flight information sheet and brief stats are also provided back to the participating landholders, so they get something back for their money and some evidence. So the on-ground work, so council coordinates a 1080 baiting program. It's a little bit independent of the aerial shooting, so we don't do 1080 baiting directly before or after the aerial shooting. Sometimes it's a month apart. So whether that's a good or a bad thing, that's just how we do it. Next. So I thought I'd put this slide in with some photos. So this shows that Brennan Kelly filling out the paperwork in the back of the ute. Again, the relationship between the shooter and the pilot's very important. You both need to really know what each other's thinking, especially around positioning of the helicopter in relation to the pigs and approaching the pigs. And the helicopter pilot, one of his jobs is to track the flight paths so that we download that information and we put that in the council GIS system, and that's one of the products which we send back out to the landholders as well. Next. Okay, this slide shows some of the information we provide back to the landholders and the stakeholders. So this is one of our information sheets, which summarises the aerial shoots we've had, the dates, the flight paths, how many feral pigs, how many wild dogs, cats, feral deer were culled, and some information on the feral animal management areas we have as well. So the way we look at the program is we have feral animal management areas, which are really feral pig hotspots like wetlands, waterways, etc. And then the landholders within the FAMAs is what we call the syndicates. So on the screen here, we have 6 of our FAMAs, which summarises how many properties are in the area, and how many feral pigs were dispatched and other feral animals during those aerial shoots. And on the right-hand side is just a summary of some of the aerial shoot paths within the Whitsunday Regional Council area, but also in neighbouring councils. Next. So developing the product and the output. So without building the relationships with people, there is no project. Building relationships takes time, but is a good investment. Product develop, reducing pigs, cost effective, we think. Easy process for the landholder and stakeholders. The people involved are trusted. And I guess all of that leads to a successful project. But without the people, social aspects, there really is no economic and there's really no environmental benefits. So we really need to work on the social aspects, the relationships, to build a successful project. We also strive for transparency and accountability through the provision of the report. So whether the aerial shoots were successful or not, whether we killed hundreds of pigs or only 20, we still provide that information back to landholders and the stakeholders. Next. So some take-home messages. What makes a successful community-based feral pig management program? Well, we think reputation is everything. Building relationships is important. Managing pigs is all about managing people. People management is important. We need to get landholders inside, stakeholders inside, on side, and have them trust our processes and our program. We value landholder inputs into decision making, so we do ask landholders, where are the pigs today? Where do you think we should fly, etc., and use that local information. Demonstrating good value for money, so we do provide feedback to the stakeholders, and we need to build trust through professionalism. Some of that's demonstrating the paperwork side too. Showing an interest in helping to solve a problem, being personable. Value in seeing all levels of government and stakeholders involved. So this is one of the things which the landholders have said back to us, is that we're involved because everyone else is. So when they see government, industry and other landholders involved, it sort of brings other landholders into participating and allowing us to shoot on their property. Next. So that's the end of the presentation, and I hope I've really demonstrated the importance of the social aspects of our program and why relationships are important. Any questions?
Thanks, Scott. We'll leave the questions until after the presentations from the Midwest demonstration site as well. There's a bit of time at the end of this for some questions. So